Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines we're tracking for you this evening. The sensex and the Nifty end at a 5-month high as bulls maintain the winning momentum on Dalal Street. The Nifty Bank index ends at a record high. Auto and real estate stocks lead the charge. The Supreme Court defers its hearing in the Adani-Hindenburg case. The market regulator SEBI files a fresh affidavit reiterating its request for a 6-month extension to probe the allegations. SEBI says it has approached 11 overseas regulators in connection with the probe on minimum public shareholding norms. The first request was made in October 2020. The National Company Law Appellate Tribunal reserves its verdict on a plea by aircraft lessors against the moratorium granted to Go First. The verdict is likely to be pronounced on the 22nd of May. India's wholesale price index turns negative. The fall in food and energy prices takes the WPI to its lowest level in nearly 3 years. This is the 11th straight month of a decline in the WPI. Who will be the next Chief Minister of Karnataka? Former Chief Minister Siddaramaiah heads to Delhi to meet the Congress leadership. The state party president D.K. Shivakumar also in the fray. Turkey is heading for an unprecedented runoff as President Erdogan fails to muster more than 50% of the votes. Opposition leaders like Kılıçdaroğlu get 44% of the votes compared to Erdogan's 49%. The second round of vote will take place on the 28th of May. Voters reject Thailand's military rulers as opposition parties emerge victorious in the national elections. Move Forward Party emerges on top and plans to form a coalition government with other opposition parties. Ukraine's President Zelensky flies to London to meet British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. The UK joins Germany and France in pledging more military aid to Ukraine. Well, let's start with the market action. Adani stocks under pressure in trade today. Adani Enterprises, Adani Green, Adani Transmission and Adani Total Gas lost between 3 to 5% each. The group has announced plans to raise up to 21,000 crore rupees from qualified institutional buyers. Adani Enterprises board approved a proposal to raise over 12,000 crore rupees, while Adani's Transmission board approved raising over 8,000 crore rupees via QIP issue. The combined market cap of the conglomerate has dipped by 25,000 crore rupees in the last 24 hours. And nearly 10 lakh crore rupees since the Hindenburg report was published in January of this year. Staying with the issue, the Supreme Court has decided to defer the hearing in the Adani-Hindenburg matter. Market regulator SEBI has filed a fresh affidavit reiterating its request for a 6-month extension to probe the allegations. SEBI has said that it approached 11 overseas regulators in connection with the probe on minimum public shareholding norms, and the first request made by SEBI was in October of 2020. Ashmit joins us now with more details. Ashmit, so the matter was adjourned today, but in its fresh affidavit, the market regulator saying two things, saying that there is no investigation underway as far as the 2016 probe related to a GDR issue was concerned, that the Adani Group was not linked to that. But the regulator also saying that there is a probe underway when it comes to the minimum public shareholding norms, and the first request was made by the market regulator SEBI to overseas regulators in this matter in October of 2020.
Indeed, two important revelations being made by the market regulator for the first time, putting it on record in an affidavit in a court document. Here what SEBI says, number one, is that as far as the investigation is concerned, it is calling it the investigation into minimum public shareholding norm violations. That's the investigation that SEBI is looking into. And towards that end, SEBI's case essentially is that, look, this is a case which spreads across multiple jurisdictions, that this will require voluminous documents and transactions that need to be looked at, that need to be considered. And as a part of that, SEBI then says that they are in touch with 11 overseas securities regulators to source this data, and information about the transactions in question, number one. And importantly, SEBI also states on record for the first time that the first request that had gone out was way back in October of 2022, which significantly predates the Hindenburg report, which came out in Jan this year. So that is something important to bear in mind that SEBI has brought to the court's attention. That was one. The other, of course, came on the back of allegations and suggestions that were made by petitioners during the last hearing that SEBI was seized of the matter as far back as 2016. Now, in response to that, as a clarification, what SEBI says is that, yes, indeed, there was an investigation into the issue of GDR, issuance of GDR, that 51 listed entities were subject to that investigation. But SEBI is also quick to point out that none of those 51 listed entities which were subject to this probe included any Adani Group entity. So that is the clarification that SEBI is giving, that 2016 is not when they began investigating. This investigation into MPS norms, or minimum public shareholding norms, began only in October of 2020, when they started sending out queries to these overseas regulators. That's the two important points they've put across. Third, they've said is that they've reiterated their claim and their request for a 6-month extension. The matter was supposed to get taken up today. It could not for want of time. So all eyes now on the top court to decide on this SEBI application on this 6-month extension demand.
All right, Ashmit, appreciate you joining us. So no decision yet from the Apex Court on whether a 6-month extension will be granted, or it could be a period between now and 6 months. As Ashmit pointed out, we are waiting for clarity from the top court. But the market action of the day, a sharp rally in auto and real estate stocks, taking the Sensex and the Nifty to their highest level in the last 5 months. The Sensex gained about 300 points, the Nifty added 80 points. The Nifty Bank Index up nearly 300 points, ending the day at a record close. Prashant is standing by to wrap up the market action. What a start to the week, Prashant, for our markets.
Well, so close, yet so far. Not very far, but not quite there. That's, I think, the best way to describe things. And I'm talking about not the Nifty, but the Bank Nifty, which came within 10 paise of hitting an all-time high, the previous all-time high, 44,151.8. We got to 0.7 today. And then, of course, I mean, after that, in the last hour, the market did come off a little bit, which put some more distance between where we closed and where the all-time high is. You know, in sports parlance, and for example, football, you could say that the goal was missed. The ball hit the goalpost, the crossbar, but didn't quite go into the nets. You know, maybe tomorrow. We're not very far away. The Nifty is about 2% away, though, to be fair. Let's come to the market action in terms of what happened. Broader markets, both the mid-cap and the small-cap parts of the market did better than the Nifty and the Bank Nifty, about 0.75% gains there. Market breadth was positive. Large-cap stocks which did well, Hero, Tata Motors, ITC, Tech Mahindra, Lever, Hindalco, a few names. Losses in the Adani Group stocks, Cipla, BPCL, many of them, of course, reacting to earnings over the last 3 days. Broader markets, buzzing. DLF, I mean, big gainer on the back of volumes. Zensar Technology, Newland, for the second day in a row, did very well. Soba Developers was the other big real estate name which was buzzing. GE Shipping, we had the management with us. Ujjivan Small Finance Banks continues the rally, results rally from last week. VST Tillers, LG Equipment, Prestige, Repro, and so many others which did quite well. Losers as well in the broader space. Home First, we understand some private equity investors sold. DMart, apart from Adani Enterprises, Transmission, Total Gas were also down. Ethos saw a sharp cut. South Indian Bank, CET, which has seen a sharp rally, came off as well. These were a few amongst many others as well. I mean, I think all eyes will be on all-time highs, especially for the Bank Nifty. Will we get decent global cues? And can we get to that as we start another session tomorrow morning, right at the word go? I think that's front and center in terms of mind space as we go into tonight's Wall Street session and, of course, look forward to tomorrow. Back to you.
Prashant, many thanks for joining us. A 5-month high, that is where our markets closed for the day. Now, 3 top brokers in the country have been facing an investigation related to money laundering and fraudulent trading activity. This as per the Press Trust of India. The report does not reveal the name of these brokers, but says investigations have been underway for over 4 years. It's alleged that brokers have been found to be connected to, and I quote, politically exposed persons. Moving to the commodity market, where crude oil prices remain steady as tightening supplies have competed with concerns of fuel demand weakening in top consuming countries. Gold prices rising as the US debt ceiling stalemate and concerns over an economic slowdown steered some traders towards the safe haven metal. India's wholesale price index for the month of April has turned negative for the first time in nearly 3 years. This is the 11th straight month of a decline in the WPI. The drop was broad-based and largely driven by a fall in prices of basic metals, crude, energy and chemicals. Now, the National Company Law Tribunal has reserved its verdict on a plea filed by Go First's aircraft lessors opposing the moratorium granted to the airline. A UK-based aircraft leasing company watchdog has put India on a watch list with negative outlook after Go First filed for insolvency. In its warning, AWG says that India failed to comply with international aircraft repossession norms by granting Go First a moratorium, preventing lessors to repossess aircraft. The Vadia Group, the promoters of Go First, have hit back, saying that AWG should hold its own members accountable for failing the Indian aviation industry instead of issuing a warning to India. Staying with the aviation space, the Aviation Working Group's warning also follows the change in perception about India as a high-risk market. According to consultancy firm Primus Partners, Go First's moratorium could change the approach of lessors towards the Indian market. This could translate into higher risk premiums, which essentially means higher lease rentals for airlines. Madiha joins us now with a deep dive on why lessors are feeling anxious after Go First's insolvency. Madiha, over to you.
Well, India is quite an important market for aircraft lessors, but it also burned their fingers in some cases, especially in the last few years. Let me give you a larger context on where India stands when it comes to leased aircraft. India has about 700 commercial planes and 80% of these planes are on lease. So India is hugely dependent on lessors. One, because delivery of new planes takes time, and two, airlines mostly follow a sale and leaseback model. Hence, Indigo, Go First, SpiceJet and Vistara are all mostly flying leased planes. Now let's come to why the Go First moratorium has left lessors worried. Lessors aren't keen on staying with the Go First insolvency process because it mostly takes several months to conclude. Now this could mean that aircraft will remain on ground unused instead of being leased to any other airline which is more stronger. Then there is constant depreciation in the value of the aircraft if it stays on ground for a long period. Another major worry is other creditors of the airline like oil companies or airport operators seizing the aircraft to recover their dues from the airline. Lessors are also against staying with IBC process as they often have to take a deeper haircut on their dues. And in worst case scenarios like liquidation of assets, they may not get any money at all. Now, these concerns are not new. Lessors have faced huge losses during the grounding of Kingfisher and Kingfisher Airlines as well as Jet Airways. In Jet Airways insolvency matter, lessors had claimed over 14,000 crore rupees, of which only 2,290 crores were admitted, and that too is not paid yet, as the Jalan-Kolrock consortium is yet to pay. And for the Go First insolvency, for the money that it owes to various lessors, it is estimated that it owes 2,600 crore rupees to lessors. And SpiceJet, which is also seeing deregistration requests from several lessors, is also owing a lot of money, but we don't have any clarity on how much money it owes to lessors. So all this put together explains why lessors are likely to attach a high risk premium to the lease rentals, and as Prime Partners predicts, this could increase air ticket prices for you and me.
All right, Madiha, well, we will have to wait to see how this plays out. Thanks very much for joining us. But staying with aviation, there's fresh funding boost for SpiceJet. UK's SRAM and MRAM group will invest $100 million in Spice Express, the air cargo arm of SpiceJet. This follows aircraft lessor Carlyle Aviation converting $100 million worth of dues into equity. Taiwan-based Apple supplier Foxconn and the Telangana government have performed the groundbreaking ceremony of its new electronic manufacturing facility near Hyderabad. Telangana IT and Industries Minister K.T. Ramarao said Foxconn will invest $500 million to set up the plant and is expected to create 2,500 direct jobs, 25,000 direct jobs in the first phase. Manappuram Finance reported a good set of numbers in Q4, beating poll estimates. The asset quality of its microfinance institutions improving sharply. However, the company's gold loan business dipped in Q4. Speaking of Manappuram Finance, the Kerala High Court has granted an interim stay of 2 weeks to the company's managing director and CEO BP Nandakumar. The court has directed him to take prior approval of the ED before dealing in movable properties. SoftBank-backed Indian startups have cut down costs by 50 to 70%. Since 2022, a report by Money Control suggests that startups have managed to do so by laying off staff, reducing employment benefits and cutting expenditure. Some of SoftBank startups include Unacademy, Meesho, Swiggy and Cars24. The big national story this evening: after winning a thumping majority in Karnataka, the Congress is staring at a big dilemma. Who will be the state's next chief minister? The top contenders for the position include the party president, D.K. Shivkumar, and Siddaramaiah, who held the state's chief minister's position from 2013 to 2018. Both have been vocal about their chief ministerial ambitions. Congress veteran Siddaramaiah has left for New Delhi to meet the party high command. Shivkumar is also expected to fly down to the capital. The newly elected 135 Congress MLAs have authorized party president Mallikarjun Kharge to decide on the new CM. Sources say the new Congress government in Karnataka may take oath this Thursday. Pallavi Ghosh has more on the hectic parleys in the capital. Pallavi.
Well, the suspense still continues on who's going to become the Chief Minister of Karnataka. The main contenders are certainly D.K. Shivkumar as well as Siddaramaiah. Well, the whole of night until early morning, the three observers who went in from Delhi to Bengaluru spoke up with each and every MLAs, including Siddaramaiah and D.K. Shivkumar, and tried to get a sense of who is it that they are supporting. That list has now been kind of pinned down, and a report being submitted to the Congress president in a short while from now. Now, what happens is that Mr. Mallikarjun Kharge, as a Congress president, now faces one of the biggest challenges, and considering he comes in from the state, on who to decide on becoming the CM and how to placate the one who does not become the chief minister. What are the main considerations keeping in mind? Of course, one is someone who can ensure that stability, someone who has all the MLAs also with them to ensure that quick decisions are taken. The second important fact is that this result comes very close to a Lok Sabha elections of 2024. So you need to have a chief minister who can keep the party together, the flock together, and the MLAs, and ensure that maximum number of MPs come from the state. Siddaramaiah's advantage: old warhorse, someone who's got an experience, he belongs to the Kuruba community, and of course large number of MLAs by its side. But D.K. Shivkumar, the main troubleshooter, someone who has shown that loyalty to the party despite troubled times, and someone who's a very able organizer, someone who has been able to ensure that poaching doesn't take place. This becomes very important ahead of the Lok Sabha elections. Tough choice, tough decision to take, and that is perhaps adding to a headache of the top leadership of the Congress party.
All right, Pallavi, many thanks for joining us. I guess we will know soon enough who will be the Chief Minister of Karnataka. Time for us to head to a break, but up next, more election news from Turkey and Thailand. That and more when we return.
An exquisite solitaire, truly special.
Z-Black Premium Agarbatti and Dhoop, official prayer partner, Delhi Capitals.
As India makes strides towards sustainability, Tata Power and News 18 Network launched a unique movement that empowered India to make meaningful change. Sustainable is attainable, a path-breaking initiative with the aim of bringing people together to spark conversations around sustainability, demystifying futuristic technology to enable our society and industry to make meaningful change, to spread ideas that will reduce our burden on natural resources and build a society and a world where the environment can flourish. Join us at the Sia Fest, 17th May, New Delhi on News 18 Network.
We don't just make new categories. We remake legends. In fact, we make the whole world of India's mobility new forever.
It's time now for us to get into a deep dive into data coming in from the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board. Around 10% of the total cases under the IBC have been fully resolved. Creditors have taken a haircut of around 68% on the admitted claims. Sapna Das is here with more. Sapna, 5 years on, take us through what the data reveals and more importantly, what the road ahead possibly looks like.
Absolutely. So the 5-year track record of IBC has been, quite historic in that sense. But if you look at the total number of resolutions that have gone through, and as of March end, there were around over 6,500 cases with IBC, out of which around 69 to 70% cases have actually been closed. So when you say the case is closed, either liquidation or settled, or resolved. So let's look at the resolution under these circumstances. Out of the total universe of over 6,500 cases, only 10% cases have gone through the resolution process. That number is 678. That's it. Out of 6,500 over cases, 678 cases have gone through the resolution process. And if you look at it in terms of the smaller universe, which is the number of cases closed, around 4,500 cases have been closed, which is pretty big. Out of that also, this is just 27%. So that's one indicator of performance in the last 5 years. Also, let's look at some of the very basic facts. For example, even if you look at earlier reports of Standing Committee on IBC, a lot of questions have been raised on this haircut business. So this haircut business is still very much visible. In the last 5 years, if you look at it, under these cases which have been closed, 9 lakh odd crore was the worth of the original claims brought in by creditors. And these can be financial creditors, these can be operational creditors. Out of that, around 2.65 lakh odd crore was the fair value that had been decided. Out of which, of course, around 3 lakh odd crore has been recovered. But, this is what? Around 32% of the original claims submitted. And, even in terms of the fair value, that is only for 586 cases out of the 678 which has been decided. So that comes to a big number of 83%. Now, a large number of the industry and the government has been focusing on this 83%. People are not really talking about the 68% which is actually gone. What are the reasons for that? What needs to be done? There are some important recommendations which have gone to the MC on this front, how IBC should be kind of, reviewed, relooked and kind of restructured. But we really don't know what is the status of those recommendations as of now.
Sapna, many thanks for joining us. That is the 5-year report card of the IBC. And as you probably heard Uday Kotak here on CNBC-TV18, he believes that in order for us to be able to get to that aspirational 10% GDP number, this is one of the areas where more reforms will be required. The Power Ministry is set to meet state officials this week for a status update on the transition to clean energy. Sources say that the meeting aims to recalibrate state strategies and identify bottlenecks. Government sources add that Union Power Minister R.K. Singh is expected to chair the review meeting on the open access for green energy this week. Abhimanyu standing by with more. Abhimanyu, what can we expect?
The Union Power Ministry is slated to meet state officials this week to review the status of energy transition across India. State officials will be asked to submit data and degree of energy transition which has already been conducted across the country, as well as submit reports of the current status of renewable energy purchase obligations which have been complied with. Based on this data, the Union Power Ministry is going to identify bottlenecks to ensure that if at all any policy interventions are required from the union government side, they should be implemented to ensure that energy transition across states can be speeded up. India has set an ambitious renewable energy target which includes net zero carbon emissions by 2070 and installation of 500 gigawatts of renewable energy capacity by 2030. It remains to be seen what updates will be given from states based on which any action will be taken by the union government. The meeting is also going to focus on recalibration of strategies by various states in order to do better in this domain, as well as reduce emissions by up to 1 billion tons by 2030, which is a part of India's target which has already been set.
Abhimanyu, many thanks for joining us. The big international story is Turkey's presidential election may be headed for a runoff. Neither President Recep Tayyip Erdogan nor his main challenger appear likely to meet the 50% threshold to win the election. If no one crosses that mark, a second round of election is expected to be held on the 28th of May. Addressing his supporters, Erdogan said he could still win, but is ready for a runoff. For Erdogan, a loss this election could mean an end to his 20-year reign. Meanwhile, his opponent has also vowed to win in the second round. Voters have rejected military rulers as opposition parties emerge victorious in what has been termed as Thailand's most pivotal election in decades. The Move Forward party, led by 42-year-old Peter Lim Jeronrat, has emerged on top and is looking to form an alliance with other progressive and like-minded parties. But the road to power for the reformist parties may not be an easy one.
Thailand's progressive and reformist opposition parties have won the most number of seats in the general elections, striking a body blow to pro-military parties which have ruled the South Asian state for close to a decade. The youth-led Move Forward party, marking its election debut, is set to win a total of 151 seats in the 500-member House of Representatives. Remember, 100 out of these seats are allocated to parties on a proportional basis. The party has promised to scrap the draconian royal insult law and usher in a new kind of politics that would end the stranglehold of the monarchy and the military over Thailand.
What we had promised that it will be without the military-backed parties, and it will be an MOU based like the Western democracy, where it's transparent, where it's concise, where it's expectation management of what can be done or what cannot be done.
The Pheu Thai party, helmed by the Shinawatra family, has won 141 seats. The pro-military United Thai Nation party of Prime Minister Prayut fared poorly, lagging at 5th position. The election results would be formally ratified after 2 months. But here's a caveat. The 250-member Senate, who are appointed entirely by military officials, votes for the Prime Minister along with the House of Representatives. A candidate should get at least 376 votes to sail through. In the last election in 2019, the Senate had voted unanimously for Prayut, despite his party winning a lot fewer seats than the Pheu Thai. He was later able to cobble together a coalition of 19 different parties. The leader of the Move Forward party has said that he has invited the Pheu Thai and 4 other opposition parties to form an alliance. So, while the road to power for the reformists may not be easy due to the complex parliamentary practices of Thailand, they have a lot to celebrate right now. Bureau Report, CNBC-TV18.
Well, big changes on the anvil in our region. And with that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Business 360. Thanks very much for watching. Do stay tuned to CNBC-TV18. The news continues when we return.